Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to use Excel to get the Van Westendorp price sensitivity meter. All right, so here is the data, right? So this is the data we have. Um, we have here 12 responses, and there are four prices, right? So the first thing you need to do is to compute the frequency table. Okay, so you look at all the answers from the responses, and then you look at how many different prices you got from here, right? So here we have 7 different prices. Okay, so from $1 to $30. All right, so now you just in this table you just count at each price level how many people think it's too cheap or a bargain or expensive or too expensive. Okay, let's start say too cheap. Okay, so at $1, how many people think it's too cheap, right? So you just look at this one here. So this row column here, we just count, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 people think it's too cheap. So we put it over here. And then we do it again for $5. We again count how many people think $5 is too cheap. And we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is 4. So we do the same for all the price level here. Okay, next we do for the bargain, right? So how many people think $1 is a bargain? We go over here in the data. Nobody think $1 is a bargain, so it's 0. Okay, so again we do the same for all the rest of the cells here. Right, so now this table shows you how many people think what price is too cheap, okay, or a bargain, or expensive, or too expensive. Right, so next we really need to based on this frequency table, we need to do a cumulative table. Right, so basically it's really we need to count, we need to find out the percentage. Say for example here, what's the percentage people think $1 is too cheap? Okay, how do we get that? Right, so we again we need to go back to the frequency table, right? So frequency table here tells us 5 out of 12 people think $1 is too cheap. Do we put 5 over 12? Use that as a percentage here? Apparently, I did not do that, right? Because why? At $1, right? So we know we have 5 people think so it is too cheap, but everybody else think even a higher price is too cheap, right? If I think $5 is too cheap, of course I will think $1 is too cheap. $1 is even cheaper than $5, right? So that is why you really need to do a cumulative calculation here. So you need to add everything below $1, and so that's everybody, right? So that's 100%. Okay. And then you do at $5, what's the percentage people think is too cheap, right? So you just add everyone who think $5 is too cheap, as well as those ones who think any price that's above $5 is too cheap, right? So here is 7 out of 12 responses, so that's 58%. Okay, again, if I think $5 is too cheap, okay, if I think $10 is too cheap, of course I would think $5 is too cheap, because $5 is even cheaper, right? So that is why you need to count everybody that think anything above $5 too cheap. Okay, you do the same for the bargain. Okay, as you can see a pattern here. As prices goes up, there are less people think it's too cheap. Okay, and less people think it's a bargain. Okay, so the trick here is when we do the expensive and too expensive, we have to do the calculation from the opposite side. So for here, we do it from top to bottom, right? And for here, we have to do it from bottom to top. Okay, so why is that? Okay, so again, I'm going to show you an example, right? So here at $30, right, there is nobody think $30 is here, let me just use this one. So there are 5 people think $30 is too expensive. Okay, and there are 3 people think $25 are too expensive. All right, if I'm this one of the people who think $25 is too expensive, Of course, if you offer $30, that's even more expensive, right? So I should be count in here, right? So here you just count upwards. Anybody think $30 or any price is lower than $30 is too expensive? You should be counted over here, right? So that's everybody, so 100%. Okay, and you do the $25. So 3 people think $25 is too expensive, but there are 4 more people think even if the number is lower than $25 is also too expensive, right? So of course $25 is too expensive, so you have to add them together. Okay, add everybody here together, and that is 7 people out of 12, so that's again 58%. Right? So now you get, the cumulated table for all these 4 different price at different price level. All right. So again, just want to mention here, here it's for $30. It's everybody thinks it's too expensive, and then as the prices goes down, less and less people think it's too expensive. Okay, that's logically making sense. All right, so next thing is you need to graph this for basically these 4 lines, right? So you have this 4 different 4 data. Then you just put over here, right? So if you look at this one I have, it's basically just plot this percentage here in this graph, right? So then you should be able to get a price range for this pricing sensitive meter. And any price between these 2 intersections are the reasonable price that you could charge